All right, so this is my professional portfolio. I started off with my cover page. Just has a little brief description of who I am, how I got to this point, how I decided that education was my passion, more specifically those with different abilities and with autism, and just some of my work experience. It talks about how I started in education and where I'm at now. And then we move on to educational information, which has my resume, my transcripts, my immunizations, letter of recommendation, references, and student work. So this has my resume, which I actually tailored to fit more so in the realm of education. Rather than putting my entire life of work skills and jobs, I chose the most pertinent ones that really show my skills in education and with children. My official transcript's in progress, so once I finish and graduate, this will go take the place of this little holder. I have my immunizations, and then I have my reference letters, letters of recommendation. And then I have my references. So I did professional and I did some personal references. And then here will go my RBT certification. I'm taking the Registered Behavior Technician certification class online right now. So once I finish that and I get my certificate, pass everything, I will swap these out. Then I have some pictures. I love when I get pictures, drawings, cards from students and children. They're one of my favorites. I have an entire box filled with years of all of the above. And so for me, I love it. My classroom's filled with them. I put them on my pin board behind me. So I love things like this, and I think this really shows a lot when you share these kinds of things, because I think it shows the connection you have with these children. So Ella made me these. And then I have a student, Eddie, who drew this for me from Circle of Friends for my birthday. And then my student, Dom, drew that for me. We were working with shapes, and that's what he drew me. And then I put in a letter to parents. This was an assignment I had done back in 130. And I think this is just kind of a neat thing to keep around, because it kind of gives you a little guide of when you're writing a letter to a parent and responding. And then I move into my professional statements. I started off having my list here, so they go in order. So I have trauma-informed care. I have developmentally appropriate practices. I then have my interpersonal connections and relationships. I have ages and stages. Curriculum for early learning. Observation. Behavior, which is my all-time favorite. And then we move into theories, which for my theories, I chose B.F. Skinner. I have Howard Gardner and Albert Bandura, which are probably three of my all-time favorite theorists. And then we move into professionalism in early childhood. And then social emotional learning for teachers, which I think this is such a crucial one to have in here. And last but not least, we have the creating gender safe spaces for children. And up next, we have work samples. So for work samples, I broke it down into observations and documentation and learning experiences and curriculum and then projects. So I start off here with the observations and documentation. So when I started this section, I had example sheets of different types of observations. So I chose to put those here as examples before I put my observations. So I have the checklist and rating scale. I have an event sample, a running record, a shadow study, and I have a time sample. And then I have my anecdotal observation. This one was neat because I did this, this one I actually got to do. We had no age limit, and so this one was neat because I got to do it on my own students. And then we had health, safety, and nutrition observation. And then I had my Introduction to Early Childhood Education Core Beliefs final project. And then we have my observation where I got to go in and actually implement an activity. And then we move into learning experience and curriculum. So my first one up was a group project I got to do back in my diversity class in 106. That was called We Are All the Same. Then I did an activity plan where I went in and I watched an activity, which was edible finger painting. And then I got to recreate and implement that same activity, which was so much fun. Edible finger painting was great. And then I have our tissue paper stained glass. And then I added my projects. So I took some of my projects. I did a lot of slideshows on different types of subjects and theories and research projects. So I thought that was a neat thing to have. So I have psychosocial development in middle childhood. Then I did a group project. We did a family research project on anxiety and OCD. Then I did a fieldwork research project. I did mine on television and teens. And then this is another activity I had done. I had done a taste testing activity where we used our senses. So we used the different senses we have. And then I have a health, safety, and nutrition little guide. This was a program. I just have it laid out flat just to be able to see all the information. And then this was a group project where we had to create our own program. So I created a little brochure that has information about our program. I created a calendar as well as a meal calendar for each month. Our meal calendar had breakfast, lunch, and snacks. And then I have my ecological model, which I did on myself. And then I have my research project on John Bowlby. This right here was a guide I had created with, I did it on a slideshow and I used my iPad actually, and this was for a parent-teacher conference. And then this is my all-time favorite. This is the Teacher Survival Guide. It's the 8 core beliefs to help with your first year of teaching. And I think this is so great to have because even if you're not a new teacher and you're just moving to a different age group or a different classroom, I think that these are still really crucial to have with you and to think about because sometimes when you're moving age groups, it feels like you're beginning teaching all over again. And then this was an activity where we had to create a ad for a product that we came up with. So we came up with what was called ABC Sensory, and it was a sensory board that we had made with all different types of goodies on here. Lots of colors, textures, different feels, different sounds, different things that they can work with that are manipulative. And then my favorite part here, which are my favorite resources. I have different handouts, articles, poems, short stories, quotes, just essentials that I think are great to have around. So these brochures I received from COC. One's on special needs and one is on positive discipline. My favorite sheet, what we learn through play. I think this is so crucial for every teacher to have. I think it's just great to be able to look back on and see. Then I have best practices for intentional teaching. I have word pictures. Then I have compassionate discipline, dealing with difficult students. The NAEYC's 5 guidelines for effective teaching. Then I have the 3 core considerations of developmentally appropriate practices. NAEYC's welcome children and families to your classroom, just a little guide on how to welcome them in. Then I have Bright Horizons Positive Guidance, a guide for parents. I have the illustration for connections between the domains of growth and development and content and curriculum areas of learning. Open-ended questions. I have the 8 styles of learning, which is great because we forget that children learn in different ways. Then I have the managing biting in the toddler environment. I have the continuity of care, getting started with infants and toddlers. What infant attachment means for you. I have the NAEYC Early Learning Program Standards. I have health habits, key components of developmentally appropriate practices, behavior under construction, the Child Care Center regulatory agencies for the state of California, Department of Social Services and Licensing Division. I have the summary of the negative consequences of praise and rewards, preventing problems and conflicts. I have another words that help open-ended question sheet, family-friendly strategies. These are great self-evaluation for teachers, as well as a teacher evaluation form. The Code of Ethical Conduct and Statement of Commitment. Then I get into my little stories, poems. I have Determine the Weather. We have this one by Tom Herner, Toddler Rules to Live By. The Toddler's Creed, which is a great one. The Little Boy. Imagine. Mess of Patience. Just Playing. In the Developmentally Appropriate Classroom. And then just some on attitude, site visit considerations, the 6 stages of parenthood, and our favorite, the stages of teacher development. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed my portfolio.